80-year-old Congresswoman Kay Granger announced yesterday that she will not seek re-election because at that age, it's time to kick back and run for president.
That was almost funny. That bordered on humorous, which doesn't happen very often on that show. What's that guy's name again? Yeah, Seth Meyers. Who is he? His parents don't even watch anymore. They stopped watching some time ago. Poor Seth. He thought he was funny in junior high school. It's kind of been downhill since then. For Seth. Well, happy Friday to you. We have this daylight saving thing tomorrow. I'm willing to go a year or 2 years without doing the daylight saving. What about you? I think so. You've got young Max. He's got to go to school in the morning and everything. Does that? Because apparently it's darker. It's always dark when I get up in the morning. Doesn't matter what time of year it is. So doesn't make a lot of difference to me. And I'm prohibited from standing at school bus stops. So. So I don't do a lot of that, but tomorrow is fall back, and that means sunset tomorrow is going to be a little after 6 p.m., I think like 5 minutes after 6 p.m. or something like that. And then on Sunday, sunset's going to be 2:30 in the afternoon. It's kind of a weird thing. All right, not that much, but an hour earlier. So, 5:06 p.m., something like that. I'm not sure. I'm not sure that. I know I don't need that. I can only speak for myself. I can't speak for school systems and school bus drivers and all that. But I don't really. I don't need the shift. Now you get. They say you get an extra hour's sleep. You get 1 extra hour's sleep. Except you got to change all your clocks. How many clocks? Every time I change, I'm amazed how many clocks I have. It's. I've got more clocks and watches, and then my last one, the last one I get to is always my car, my dashboard, and my car, and that is the craziest, most complicated thing. It's like Dungeons and Dragons. I got to go into this and find the settings, and then and then you want daylight savings on or off, and it's that's always the biggest thing. And don't forget the clock on your stove, your oven, rather, or your microwave. Maybe you got a microwave. We don't actually own a microwave, though, so I don't have to change the clock. You don't own a microwave? No room. No room. He's got no microwave either. Yeah, that's, when we first, it was like, well, we don't really have room. Where are we going to put a microwave oven? What are you going to do with it? Are you going to heat up a Danish? You're going to heat up your coffee? I don't drink coffee, so that's another thing that doesn't affect me. But, daylight saving time tomorrow night. Fall back. They tell Joe Biden that. He panics because wait, not again. I'm trying to stop. Joe Biden. So happy Friday to you and welcome. I hope you have a great weekend. We've got my best girl. My best girl has 2 sisters. She's got 2 sisters, and they live in the greater Atlanta metropolitan area. And they both came up yesterday, and my best girl picked them up and brought them out. And we have my best girl, actually all 3 of them, my best girl and her 2 sisters, their uncle, who's Irish, and he's not like from Boston, he's from Ireland. And, thick Irish accent, tells stories, tells jokes. He's a classic Irishman. He is. And so got my best girl's 2 sisters and their uncle, their Irish uncle. Mom was from Ireland, off the boat from Ireland. And the uncle visiting and the 2 sisters. And so busy week, busy time. Out to dinner last night with the gang of us, the 5 of us, and big weekend ahead and lots to do. So we got a lot of stuff going on. Good thing we get that extra hour sleep. I might just go home and change all the clocks this afternoon, just to screw with everybody. I think the last time we did this, I think I counted. I think I had 11 clocks to change. I had 11 clocks. The crazy thing is that, like too much information on this, but I think we have 3 clocks in our bedroom. Because got an alarm clock my side of the bedstand, alarm clock on my best girl's side of the bed. And then there's another clock underneath the television where they got where there's a cable box. Okay, and it's not on the cable box, but there's a clock there too. So 3 clocks. And then forget about it. You got your watch and all that stuff. Let's just skip it 1 year, see how that works out, that whole daylight saving thing. And wouldn't it be nice? I mean, as it stays dark longer in the morning this time of year, but then it stays light for longer at the end of the day. I kind of like the light longer at the end of the day. That's me. Yeah. And I'm used to getting up in the dark, so that's not really on my list of things to care too much about. So I got that going for us. All right, enough about that. The Biden administration sure is stupid, isn't it? Let's just jump right into the news. They're hard to believe. Are they on the side of Hamas? These people. Did you see? Apparently, the report is that the White House was calling Jewish Democrat members of Congress yesterday in the House of Representatives, telling them not to vote for the Israel money bill, $14.3 billion, $14.3 billion. And the White House was calling, and apparently just the Jews, and calling them, tell them, don't vote for this, because Israel might be able to defend themselves better against radical Islamic jihadis that are trying to wipe the state off the map. And the White House, they're against that. They're for Hamas, I think. I think they're pro-Hamas. And they got, I guess, did you see there's supposed to be a big rally in Washington, D.C. tomorrow, big pro-terrorism rally. And you know who will be attending? Democrats. That's who. There won't be a Republican in the mix unless, somebody goes down just to look at the craziness, which we very often like to do. My best girl and I, we've got a long history of going to protests and marches and rallies, and we don't participate. We sit on the sidelines and eat popcorn most of the time, not literally, just metaphorically. And there's supposed to be a big pro-terror Democrat rally in our nation's capital tomorrow. And what was it in North Carolina? They were laying in traffic yesterday, Democrats, and they get all the Utes, the Utes. What's a Ute? Stupid people who are kind of young that lay down in traffic, probably went to Harvard. Of course, I think it's North Carolina. Maybe they went to Duke. It's the Harvard of the South. That's what they say. So they must raise crazy, gender dysphoric, socialistic, anti-Semites, pro-terror. What else are they? They're anti-capitalist. They're gender dysphoric. They're leftists. And they've got a lot of gender issues. What's with the Democrats and their gender issues? But that aside, all over the country yesterday. And then did you see right there in Harvard Yard, where John F. Kennedy used to go to pick up unsuspecting girls and stuff. They had a violent mob of mentally ill pro-terrorist Harvard students. I could, say they're mentally ill. They're Harvard students. They're the future of the U.S. government and the future of the United States corporate boardrooms. And the mob swarmed and surrounded a Jewish student, a young man, who was, Michael Piercy and I were watching the video this morning, it's worthy of note, he enjoyed the least stature, in terms of elevation. He's a short kid, college student, Harvard, Jewish, and a bunch of Harvard students, male and female, swarmed him, surrounded him, were chanting, screaming in his face, not letting him walk, and they're obstructing his, you're just walking across Harvard Yard, and they obstructed his ingress. They mobbed him, and they're screaming loudly in his face, shame, shame, shame. I guess Harvard. And of course the people leading the charge are not they're not good people, but they are Harvard students. Editor of Harvard Law Review. This is the guy, not the Jewish kid walking through being harassed and by the violent mob of mentally ill, gender dysphoric, socialist, pro-jihad Democrats. But the editor of the Harvard Law Review is the one who was leading the scourging of the Jewish student. The editor of the Harvard Law Review caught on camera harassing Jewish student during anti-Israel protests. The Post-Millennial has the story. Less than 2 weeks after Hamas brutally massacred hundreds of innocent civilians in Israel, a freshman from the Jewish state was verbally and physically harassed at the Harvard University campus by a group of students as he tried to make his way through a pro-Palestinian protest. They like to wear headdresses and things, dress up and make believe. One of those who partook in accosting the first-year student was Ibrahim Brammal, B-H-A-R-M-A-L, Barmal. So Ibrahim Barmal, student and editor of the Harvard Law Review. The incident took place on October 18th. The video was not uncovered until yesterday. The incident took place October 19th in an area campus near the business school during a die-in. They're having a die-in. But, you know, they had a die-in, but then they didn't, did they? Organized by a group of anti-Israel students as the aforementioned student attempted to cross one side of the protest to the other. He was approached by a group of individuals holding keffiyehs, you know, the black and white Palestinian headdress, and they're holding them like shields because the Middle Ages are back, thanks to the left. In footage showing the situation there, the students can be heard telling the protesters and the Jewish kid who's the smallest kid there, "Don't grab me, don't touch my neck," as they block him while simultaneously telling him to exit, and they're shouting, "Shame, shame, shame," after his attempts to break through the cloth banners came up fruitless. He told his fellow students, "I live here," but that too failed to achieve the desired result. And then Ibrahim Barmal, he's captured in the video, among those holding the keffiyehs and the signs harassing the student while chanting, "Shame, shame, shame, shame." And at Harvard, this is all perfectly normal because, you know, why do they think they picked Ibrahim to be the head of the Harvard Law Review? Same reason probably they picked Barack Hussein Obama to be the president of the Harvard Law Review, even though that was not an actual position on the Harvard Law Review, because they, you know, hey, he's a black guy. He's from Hawaii. His name is Hussein. Well, it's Barack too, and Obama. He's got this great. So let's pick him and give him some kind of. And here's the guy with the Ibrahim, and he's got kind of bleach blonde punk haircut, and he's the editor of the Harvard Law Review, and he doesn't like the Jews. Reminds me of that Tom Lehrer song that, you know, I think most people don't remember or never knew, you know, and maybe we'll play that today because that's another anthem of the Democrat Party. That and Lola, of course, you know, L-O-L-A, Lola, boys will be girls and girls will be boys. It's a mixed up world. She's a mixed up girl. That was Lola. That's the Democrat Party in a nutshell. When I say in a nutshell, I think you know what I mean too. Just amazing. Yeah, so I've got a number of updates for you there, but I'll tell you what, there's a lot of border news today. What with all the terrorists and everything, so many terrorists. The Democrats love terrorists, and our borders are open to terrorists, and we're catching some, but we won't know about the ones that we didn't catch until later, because that's what terrorists are all about. The Democrats won't fully condemn Hamas because Biden needs Dearborn, Michigan. See, they can't afford to lose Michigan. It's a key state. What do they call it? The big Hamas wall, something like that. Yeah, so they're pandering to the terrorist vote because they figure and the polls show that they're losing the Muslim vote. because a lot of Muslims in the United States want to kill Jews too and wipe out Israel, according to the polls. I don't want to conjecture. Some kind of amusing Hillary Clinton news. Oh, that's got to do with Israel too. But the borders and, this Sam Bankman-Fried guy, huge Democrat Party donor, looks like he could be going to prison for 100 years. I wonder if he can still fund the Democrats from prison. What do you think? We got a ballot box stuffing story for you out of Connecticut. A judge has intervened. And border. A lot of border today. We are at 888-630-9625. Hey, it's Chris Plant, excited to tell you about our July 2024 Listener Sea Cruise. We'll be sailing around the British Isles, visiting Scotland and Ireland. Please join us. Book by this July 31st for extra savings. Visit ChrisPlantCruise.com. This scene occurred at Harvard University. A Jewish student being mobbed and harassed and menaced by, what are they? Oh, Democrats. Democrats is what it is. They should be wearing armbands. I've been saying for years now that the Democrats should be wearing armbands so we can tell who they are in crowd situations, mob violence while they're looting and things. All right, let's take a phone call. Let's go to Robert calling from Waldorf, Maryland. Roberto, you're on the Chris Plant Show.
Good morning, Chris. How are you doing?
Great, Robert. What do you say?
I'm sitting here watching these people. Chris, I've watched some videos of what these animals did. They literally baked infant babies. I've seen over 20 videos of this. These people are siding with people that bake these babies alive. If the Democrats want to do that and they want to vote against this funding bill, the Republican Party should put those videos on national TV and say, this is what your Democrat Party supports, the baking of babies. We already know that we already know they want to abort them all. But, I mean, if you can side with that, there's no talking to that. You got to kill that. You know what I mean? These people, I mean, come on. I mean, Chris, I don't know if you've seen it, but it knocked me out.
Yeah.
Well,
I've been saying from the beginning that Israel really needs to release the photos and the videos and make them as public as possible. And my condolences to the families involved. But this needs to be revealed, Robert, and because it will affect masses of people the way that it has affected you, right?
It has affected me. It's just awful. I mean, it knocked me out, man.
And then you see college campuses and Democrats and mobs in the street supporting Hamas, and it is a new day in America. It is a time for choosing, as Ronald Reagan famously said. Little blood in the streets, it's up to my ankles. A little blood in the streets, it's up to my knees. The left is here. An article from the City Journal by Stanley Goldfarb. The headline is how DEI, diversity, equity, inclusion, the Democrats, this is one of their racist plots. Only one of them. They've got a number of racist plots ongoing. How DEI inspires Jew hatred is the headline. Diversity bureaucracies stoke anti-Semitism on campus. And this is an interesting right for a number of reasons. Hell hath no fury like a donor scorned, he begins. In recent days, numerous generous supporters have withdrawn or threatened to withdraw financial support from the University of Pennsylvania, where I used to teach, Mr. Goldfarb says. The list includes former U.S. Ambassador John Huntsman, hedge fund tycoon Cliff, Asness, Asness, that's not the best name. Estee Lauder heir Ronald Lauder, to name but a few. Now, He goes on, and it's actually quite an interesting and thoughtful article, and he talks about DEI being this nightmare of racial division, and it is a Democrat Party effort, of course. He writes, after DEI took hold at Penn, anti-Semitic fervor on campus intensified. At first glance, DEI seems to have little connection to the Jewish people or the Jewish state. It's more often associated with efforts to recruit more minority students by lowering admission standards. That's another Democrat plot here. Creating racially discriminatory scholarships and setting racial quotas. He said, while I witnessed all that and more before my retirement from Penn in 2021, I also came to see that subscribing to DEI almost inevitably resulted in attacking Jews. True, anti-Semitism existed long before the establishment of the first university DEI office, but this worldview has given anti-Semites a pseudo-intellectual and seemingly moral framework through which to spew their hatred. At the heart of DEI, and this is very important, at the heart of DEI is a simple binary. The world is divided between oppressors and the oppressed. Proponents of DEI cast white people as oppressors and black people as the oppressed. While they apply this frame primarily to America, they often apply it to Israel too. Apparently, Israel is a bastion of Jewish whiteness, with a racist commitment to shattering the lives of non-white Palestinians. They're both Semitic peoples, by the way. In fact, a colleague of mine, a former collegiate DEI director, no less, was told that Jews are, quote, white oppressors, end quote, and that it was their job to de-center whiteness. De-center is another one of these words that leftists use. It's not an actual word. It doesn't mean anything. They use the words, but they don't know what they mean. They don't care. It's just about racial division. Charles Manson would be, he was a Democrat then, but, he wanted a race war in the United States of America. And really the spirit of Charles Manson lives on in the Democrat Party today. I don't think there's any doubt about that. Hence why the campus groups most associated with DEI are now leading the anti-Semitic charge. A good example is White Coats for Black Lives, which I encountered at Penn's medical school, the group which serves effectively as the medical student offshoot of Black Lives Matter. You know how many tens of billions of dollars Black Lives Matter took in? The greatest shakedown in the history of the United States of America makes Jesse Jackson and Al Sharpton look like pikers. Honestly, they are Lilliputians compared to what Black Lives Matter raked in, the biggest shakedown ever. So the offshoot of Black Lives Matter, the White Coats for Black Lives, pretty funny. It has a mission to, quote, dismantle racism and accompanying systems of oppression. That would be like capitalism and the U.S. government and society as we know it. Apparently that means supporting terrorists who beheaded Jewish babies and raped Jewish women on October 7th. In the wake of those atrocities, White Coats for Black Lives proudly declared that it had long supported Palestine's struggle for liberation. So you're pro, all that stuff. Campus DEI bureaucracies are stoking this hatred too. In 2021, the Heritage Foundation's Jay Green, now a colleague at Do No Harm, looked at the Twitter feeds of nearly 750 DEI officials at 65 U.S. universities, found that 96% of their tweets about Israel were critical of the country or anti-Semitic. Many universities have all but muzzled their DEI departments in the past 2 weeks, doubtless fearing blowback from donors and the broader public. Yet no one should assume that silence suddenly means collegiate DEI departments stand with Israel. No, silence is violence, man. Remember, silence is violence. That's what that's all about. That's your Democrat Party. And and your Democrat Party is not well. They're not on the side of the United States of America. I've been saying that for years. They should be wearing armbands. I think that's plain for everyone to see. And boy, they're really, this is the left. I don't know how many times I have to say it. They're not liberals. They're the left. And the left is not liberal. The left is the most illiberal gang of miscreants you're going to find anywhere. Anywhere. I'm telling you. So we got that. Also, a completely crazy story out of, and wait till you hear the border things, because like terror everywhere, and not a drop to drink. They got, honestly, it is, we got terrorists and murderers loose in the country because of our open borders. And the Democrats, and that includes the media, don't care about it, don't think that there's anything to see here. I also want to tell you about the ballot box stuffing crimes in Connecticut that have been uncovered. And a judge in Connecticut had to order a new mayoral primary election because the surveillance videos showed Democrats stuffing the ballot box. And then guess who won? Guess by how much? But just don't say that there are any problems with, because, you know their thing. But the terrorists and the murderers on the loose along the border. Crazy, man, crazy. Okay, let's take another phone call. We are at 888-630-9625, and we have a lot of news to cover because mostly of the Democrats and jihadis. But at this point, what's the difference? Hand, meat, glove. Let's go to Barry calling from Frederick, Maryland. Beautiful Frederick, Maryland. Barry, you're on the Chris Plant Show.
Hey, Chris.
Hey, Barry.
I've been trying to get my mind around why the Democrat Party would basically turn their backs on this incredibly loyal voter base, the Jews. And I thought maybe they're making a political calculation. So I thought maybe there's more Muslims in the country now than there are Jews. So I looked it up, and that's not true. Jews are 2.4% of the population. Muslims are 1.1%. So it can't be that. So did some digging, did some thinking. The Anti-Defamation League did a survey recently to try to, measure anti-Semitism in the African-American community, and what they found was astonishing. 79% of African-Americans are either moderately or extremely anti-Semitic. So it's got to be that the Democrat Party is making a political mathematical calculation that they're just going to jettison the Jews in favor of a greater number. African Americans are 13% of the population. And I think the African American population is kind of unhappy with the Democrat Party already because of illegal immigration. So they're just trying to placate an anti-Semitic voter base. And they kind of just assume that the Jews are going to vote Democrat anyhow. I think it's cynical and evil, but that's who the Democrats are.
But that is who the Democrats are. I mean, it honestly is who the Democrats are. By hook or by crook, hammer and sickle, they will, by any means necessary, one of their tried and true old phrases. And listen, they're also terrified, Barry, that they're losing there's a poll, and it's the Zogby polling outfit, which found that Joe Biden's support among Arab Americans has plummeted. I think it dropped 42% down to 17% support from the Arab community. And here's why that matters. Because in Michigan, where there are a lot of Arabs, a lot of immigrants that have come from the Middle East, and the population is big enough that it could swing the state of Michigan, which is a key state, in their Iron Curtain, or whatever they're calling it, where the Democrats win. They can't afford to lose the state of Michigan. And they're terrified. And there have been a couple of news reports about this just in the last few days, in particular after the Zogby poll came out, showing the plummeting support among Arab Americans. They're terrified they're going to lose the state of Michigan in the presidential race next year. And they believe that if they can't win Michigan, that they will lose the presidential contest. So they are pandering. And first of all, they're the most racially divisive people in Western civilization, the Democrat Party in the United States of America. And they are terrified, according to multiple news reports and the Zogby polling people laying it out, that they're going to lose the state of Michigan because of the large Arab vote there, largely but not entirely Muslim Arab vote. And if they lose Michigan, they can't win the presidential election. So they're in a panic, Barry, and they're crashing into furniture and throwing stacks of paper into the air, and they're questioning their gender. They do that anyway. But they're in a panic because they're afraid they can't win the presidential election if they lose Michigan, and that if they don't have the Arab vote, that they will lose Michigan. So that's a huge piece of this, too. But that is a fascinating statistic that you gave on the 79% of African-American voters are either marginally or extremely anti-Semitic. We played audio for you last week of an African-American guy in his car blocking a woman in Washington, D.C. who was on her bicycle with her little toddler. And the African-American voter, a Democrat voter, presumably, in his car was blocking the bicycle lane. And the nice lady stopped her bicycle with the little kid towing behind the bicycle in a wagon, one of those kid wagons. And it sounded like this.
All I'm asking you to do is move out of the bike lane.
I don't care what you're asking. I don't got to comply with you.
No, of course not. But that's just the law.
So go your ass around.
It's not safe. I don't want to go into the contra lane.
Safe for you. Your life is not my concern.
I understand that. I am, in fact.
I knew it. I knew it. I knew it. I knew it. I knew you was a Jew. You people are the devil. Now we're going. I knew it. You are the devil. Now we're going. Hey, bro, get to Karen, bro. She is trash. This is why you doing this, because you think you entitled.
She is trash. Your life is not my concern. And she asks him to move, and he says, "Are you a Jew?" She says, "Yes, as a matter of fact, I am." Screaming, laughing, and cackling like a lunatic. I knew you was a Jew. I think he meant to say I knew you were a Jew. And D.C. schools. And that is not completely out of the blue. And we had a lot of response when we played that audio, I think last week. And a lot of people say, well, he sounds like he might be a Farrakhanite, follower of the minister, Louis Farrakhan of the Nation of Islam. And this is, the Democrat Party loves racial balkanization in the United States of America, ethnic balkanization, religious balkanization. This is what the left does everywhere in the world, Barry. And now they're doing it here.
Thank you, Chris. Love listening to your show. Learn so much every day.
Thank you, Barry. Now, are you Jewish yourself?
I am not.
You're not. And
but I support Israel.
Yeah, so do I. And I am a Zionist. I have Jewish friends who are not. I am. It is a crazy world out there. And all of this falls to the Democrat Party, all of it. I know, Trump bad, Republican Party bad. All of this is on the Democrat Party. 100% of this, which is the maximum percentage available, goes to the Democratic Party. And they do it knowing the effect that it's having on our culture, on our civilization. And wait till you hear this open border stuff with the terrorists and the murderers. The Democrat Party is the biggest threat, not just to the United States, but to Western civilization. Forget about the jihad. That's the jihad. It's been there a long time. It's still there. But the Democrat Party in the United States right now is the biggest threat to the cohesion of the United States and, by extension, of Western civilization itself. Yeah, we got ballot stuffing, Democrats in Connecticut, ballot box stuffing, Democrats in Connecticut, caught, video, judge, court, all the illegal aliens who are on the terror watch list. And our Biden administration practices just to release the terrorists into the country. I have stories on that for you, pretty amazing. And mass murderers in the United States wandering around free because of Joe Biden. I can point to one woman in Pennsylvania that was murdered by one of the illegal aliens in the country. And the news media doesn't cover it because it doesn't serve the interests of the Democrat Party very well. And honestly, the border stories today just got my goat. And all the Chinese sneaking into the country, too. Democrat Party. You know, the countries that paid the Biden family are more present than previously known. And with that, let's go to the phones again. Let's go to Marco, calling from Springfield, Virginia. Marco, you're on the Chris Plant Show.
Morning, Chris. Thanks for taking my call.
Hey, Marco.
Hey, I think what we ought to do is there's a number of Jewish billionaires in this country. 139 of them are on the Forbes 400 list. They need to start a fund called Jewish Lives Matter. And instead of donating to Looney Tune institutions like Columbia, Harvard, and Berkeley, and UPenn, and the rest of those places that are creating these crazy radicals, they need to save that money and start putting the money behind conservative candidates. I can't see how a Schumer gets elected. What kind of loyalty do you have to your Jewish voter base? Your last caller pointed that out. And there's a great book out there. It's called Liberals, America's Termites, or It's a Shame That Liberals, Unlike Hamsters, Never Eat Their Young is the subtitle. And it's written by Bert Prelutsky. I suggest people read that. 90% of the Jewish population in this country votes Democrat, 90% or 80%, but 90% of the Jewish population in Israel votes conservative. There's something wrong here, and it needs to be put a stop to. And the way to do it is hit them in the wallet, because that's the only thing they understand.
Well, and the universities, you're absolutely right about the universities, which are hotbeds of lunacy on so many different levels. The leftism, socialism, anti-capitalism, transgenderism. And now they've really gone completely bent guano nutty with the pro-Hamas, pro-radical Islam, pro-jihad movement. And everything's a movement with these people. And the clock is ticking out loud here, and bad things are happening. We can expect bad things to get more bad rather than less bad going forward.